Welcome back to Nola Reviews. This is your boy Kels, and today is May 4th, 2020. And what that means is, may the 4th be with you. Today's that day. It's Star Wars Day. One of the better days of the year. I'm a fan of Star Wars movies. The franchise, George Lucas. I know you guys be planning, but George created all this. Remember that. And just the whole genre of Star Wars, man. And from the movies, shows, the entertainment, games, comic books, everything that has to do with Star Wars, I am a legitimate fan. I'm here to let you know that. I'm a big time fan of Star Wars. I will always be a big time fan of Star Wars. I'm always be here to rep Star Wars and all that good stuff. But anyway, we're gonna go through the show today and I'm gonna try to go through the show in order, because basically what I want to do is that I want to remember each Star Wars movie, each Star Wars content, each Star Wars episode. So yeah, I'm gonna try to go through it through chronological order, because that helps my memory, because I have so much Star Wars material stored up here. It's a shame. That's how much I love Star Wars, people. I'm a Star Wars fan. So look, let's dive right into it. And let's start off with the Skywalker saga. Now, everybody knows Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, is at the heart of Star Wars. He's the main character. He's the chosen one. He's the man of Star Wars, basically. So, started back, I think in the late 90s, George Lucas revived the Star Wars franchise, and the first episode he came with is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And The Phantom Menace was kind of like probably the worst, I would admit. Probably the worst of the franchise, but it had some good elements in it. The worst movie of the franchise with great elements in it, I should say. Great elements, not just good, great elements. But, it just... The Phantom Menace fell flat. Only because the Gungans, they were one reason why. It wasn't entirely because of them, because that one character who shall remain nameless on this show. Oh man, the Gungans it was underwhelming, as a alien species for one. But they had a lot of good elements, man. They had the pod racing. In Episode 1, we got Anakin as a kid Anakin. Jake Lloyd was the actor, and people shit on him. I don't know why, because he's a kid actor, and he actually did not do a bad job to me. But Star Wars fans are just a lot. That's all I'm gonna say. They're a lot. We also got Darth Maul, man. We got Darth Maul. We had great storylines in the Phantom Menace. Let's get that straight. Great fighting scenes. The best fighting scenes in Star Wars come from the prequels. So even though you like to shit on the prequels and talk your shit about the prequels, the best fighting for the franchise came from the prequels. Remember that. Now, as underwhelming as Phantom Menace was, and I'm not going to spend too long on each episode, because, even though I'm a fan of the franchise, I don't have too much time to speak on every individual accolade, that George Lucas and the Star Wars team has come up with for these episodic episodes. But the Clone Wars, where the Phantom Menace left off, was with Qui-Gon dying, Qui-Gon Jinn being killed by Darth Maul. Darth Maul presumably quotation marks, being killed by Obi-Wan, and the dark side of the Force. Darth Sidious being the Phantom Menace who's orchestrated these wars to get what he want, basically to get the Sith order back on top. And discovering Anakin Skywalker, the one that was made or consumed through the Force. So he finally found a child that he used his dark magic, Sith magic, to bring life to. So of course, from day one he's planning Anakin to be his apprentice, once he comes off age. Now that he's found him, I should say actually Qui-Gon Jinn and the Jedi has found him first, and would train Anakin to be Anakin Skywalker to be a Jedi. So episode 2, the Clone Wars, come along. And even though episode 2 was better than episode 1, we still didn't get that Star Wars, feel, what I mean, from the original 3 movies. We wasn't buying in as an audience, and I get that. But the Clone Wars, even though it had some good elements in it, the Clone Wars was just soft as shit. And what I mean by that is that they had too many soft moments for Anakin Skywalker. He was just too whiny, in this movie. Too much in love for Padme. And I get it. They meant it. The Phantom Menace, Anakin and Padme, here it is. And when it comes to Clone Wars, okay, cool. He could profess his love and let's move on. That didn't happen. He basically kept crying about being in love with her the whole fucking movie, the Clone Wars, and it kind of dragged it down. You know what I mean? Because you had the I'm not going to even talk too much shit about the dialogue in it because, George Lucas, like I said, that's not his forte, but he could have had some writers help him a little bit more on that. I think that movie would have came out a lot better. But the good things about it was I love seeing Dooku. I think Count Dooku was a great apprentice and the next princess a lot in line after Darth Maul, to Darth Sidious. I think Dooku was that political type game, but still very strong and powerful with the Force type apprentice that Sidious needed to keep his wars going on, basically, so he could take over. I love seeing Jango Fett, Kid Boba Fett, the clone army come into existence, the Grand Republic army, all the clone soldiers. Love seeing the Techno Union or the Separatists come into focus. A big thing about the Clone Wars to me was Yoda fighting Count Dooku. I love seeing Yoda fighting, and people talk shit about Yoda, oh, he's just that badass with the Force, he shouldn't be fighting. Nah, I love Yoda fighting. I'm a fan of Yoda fighting. I mean, how the hell can you be a Jedi without a lightsaber? I know you have to have the Force, but my favorite Jedis are all fighting Jedis that have their own lightsabers, that's proficient in the Force, and also fighting with the Force and fighting with a lightsaber. It's my favorite personal Jedis. So the war has started, basically, and that sprung off this animated Clone Wars film first, because it's a Clone Wars series and it's a Clone Wars film, animated film, and I never quite got why the Clone Wars needed to be so in-depth like that. I think George Lucas could have just kind of spread the storyline out, a little bit more, fleshed it out. But the Clone Wars animated film wasn't all that bad. It just didn't add any more that I felt like I needed to see. Now, as far as the series goes, the series was a lot better. The series were more entangled, and I'm not gonna lie, you get a lot of sleeper episodes through the series, and the series is produced and handled by Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni. I hope I pronounced his name right. Y'all know by now I'm terrible with names, but Dave Filoni, who I'm a fan of, a big fan of. He does a great job from the Lucasfilm team. I mean, Dave Filoni just came up through the ranks, and he's continuing to do great work with the Clone Wars. And there's the Clone Wars season going on right now. There's an episode I just finished watching, and look like they're about to go ahead and wrap up this last season. But this last episode I watched is heading right into Revenge of the Sith, which is the third episode we're about to get into. And I think that's what I'm talking about. Dave Filoni fleshed out and moved the story along. And I just feel like if George Lucas would have done that more, I think the prequels could have been a lot better. But look, episode 1 was underwhelming. And this is all Nola review rankings, so pay attention. Episode 1 was underwhelming. Episode 2, it's a little bit better. A lot more action. We saw a lot more Jedi fighting at once, which was great. And we saw Yoda finally use a lightsaber. We saw Yoda use the Force with a lightsaber, and actually fought. And actually was badass fighting. Now, episode 3, Vision of the Sith. Now, because the story of the Clone Wars wasn't fleshed out in the movies, episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, felt so compact with so much information. But the movie was not too long. I think George Lucas did the best job he could humanly do possible with episode 3, because episode 3 is easily my favorite of the prequels episode. I think episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is the best prequel movie. And I tell you why. It's because Anakin Skywalker finally turns to Darth Vader. He finally betrayed the Jedi. He finally, it all comes into fruition. He's finally Vader at this point. And it's not just that. It's that, the Jedi Order, which is detailed in the Clone Wars series, which should have been detailed in the movie, but whatever. But it's detailed in the Clone Wars series how the Jedi has just lost touch with the galaxy, how the Jedi has just lost who they are because of this war. War has turned all these Jedi peacekeepers into generals and soldiers, which I wasn't even mad at that, because, you have lightsabers for a reason, right? But the war just pressed on so long that eventually both sides just didn't even recognize themselves. The Separatists did not recognize what they were fighting for, because they was just in cahoots with Darth Sidious and the Grand Republic. They just lost everything. It turned it into the Empire, basically, because Darth Sidious took over. All because of this war. So the dark side of the Force proved to be stronger. Sidious finally reveals himself to Anakin, recruits him as his apprentice. Anakin kills Count Dooku, and this is not in any precise order, but I'm just giving you breakdowns of the movie. So Anakin finally kills Dooku, becomes Darth Sidious' right-hand man as Vader, and the story pushes forward, which is a great thing. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, we have this huge Death Star that's being built to keep systems under control. Darth Sidious' master plan. And between that, that's basically George Lucas' last movie that he directed and took over. And I'm gonna say this right quick before I move on to any more Star Wars content. Even though George Lucas was not the best storyteller, at least he gave us a story